Okay, greetings everyone. This is First Centurion 753 with a new mod review for Hearts of Iron 4. This is a mod review. Actually, it's more of a scenario review. I'll do a full mod review later, but this is going to be a two-part series, a scenario review of the mod The Great War for Hearts of Iron 4. This mod has been highly recommended to me by a number of subscribers, and I'm going to do in these two videos just a brief overview of the different factions and powers involved in this mod. And I think I'll probably want to follow this up with a series. Probably going to be playing one of these Great War series as I'm thinking maybe the Germans usually. I always like to rewrite history sort of in these grand strategy historical games, but for this mod, for this episode in this two-part series, we're going to start with the 1910 version, and we're looking at the Powder Keg of Europe. 1910 is a challenging time for peace in Europe. The Italians are preparing for war with the Ottomans, which will threaten their hold in the Balkans. Rebellion in Morocco is beginning to boil over. Too much of the anguish of the French, and to the delight of the German Empire. All in all, either clear heads will be needed to keep the peace, or strong hearts to win the war. And let's take a look at the scenario. I've done a number of mod reviews for Hearts of Iron 4 for different mods. I think I may have been overzealous on the last one I did on the Man in the High Castle one. I just finished watching the Man in the High Castle series. That just really redrew the map in that mod. But this mod, the Great War mod, goes beyond any mod I've seen so far. It gives descriptions specifically for each country. It also has elaborate national focus trees with descriptions as well. It also has minor powers here too as well that you can focus on. With the whole new technology tree, and it allows you to extend even into the Second World War too, so you can keep playing as well. But I'll do a full mod review later. I'm just going to go over the different factions in this video. So first, starting with the Germans, we have Kaiser Wilhelm II, authoritarian ideology, authoritarian regime. There is elections apparently. I don't remember there being elections. I might not have gotten to 1912 yet. We are authoritarian, like we said. You have starting situations with the Northern German Confederacy legacy. This gives 10% stability, and the scramble for Africa, which, as we know, was the Berlin Conference of 1890. Scramble for Africa, the rivalry between Britain, France, and Germany, and other European powers accounts for much of the great tensions of great powers in this era. This, with only fragments of territories left unclaimed, the demands for annexing foreign colonies are already starting to echo in the streets. Most of the world has been conquered by Europe at this time. Africa is pretty much all conquered by Europe. I think you do start with Egypt, though, as an independent state. Justifies war gold time down to 2%. With the authoritarian regime, though, if you check out a few things here, you're limited. You have, I guess, elections every 5 years. Look at that. That's interesting. You need to have high tensions. You can't. It's not like fascism where you can almost organize wars or engage in interventionism with much lower tensions. You need world tensions to be up to about 30% at least before you can really start to intervene. Except for, of course, sending volunteers. You can do that at 15%. So in order to get a war goal, you need 45%. That's pretty high. So authoritarian is a different ideology in this mod that is not in the original version, and it does make doesn't make things as easy as you might think to engage in interventionist foreign policies, which you would assume as a king or Kaiser or Tsar who has complete autocracy in an authoritarian system, they might be able to engage more in foreign policy, particularly the Germans with Bismarck, but we'll talk about Bismarck later. These are some highlighted national focus selections here reinforcing the Kaiser's authority. I think that's mostly political. I'll go over these more in detail in a series. The Ag- Agdiar crisis, I think I pronounced that right. This has to do with Morocco, and I think France also has this national focus as well. And then the secret alliance with Romania, which I did achieve in a playthrough, and does help to improve your relations with Romania, but doesn't give you an actual alliance. So, just a brief history of Germany here. What was once 35 different independent states is now the German Empire, seen by many as one of the world's foremost powers, if not the strongest of them all. However, there are many who would trifle with such a state. The German enemy of France has formed the Triple Entente of themselves. The UK, Russia, all far stronger than Germany's own weak allies. With just old Austria and disloyal Italy, the Germans need either more friends or more power to survive coming times. And I did sort of play through Germany, and you do have the faction of the Triple Entente. Actually, I think it just starts with France and Russia, but it's pretty easy to get Germany into that Entente, and or not Germany, the United Kingdom into that Entente, and that will bring in all the English colonies around the world. So Germany does start in a very difficult position, very overwhelmed. You have the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which is the strongest ally, but again, probably, fifth or sixth as far as world power is concerned overall. So not really the best one. Let's do Italy before we do the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Italy is another potential ally of the Germans, originally with the Triple Alliance in history. The Italians were supposed to be part of this three-way alliance, so to speak, but they switched sides. They don't join until later. They sort of stay on the sidelines, I think, until 1915 before they make a decision to join, which really does disrupt things a little bit. And they wait, and by their time, there's some territorial disputes between them and Austria-Hungary. Italy, the smallest third of the Triple Alliance, an alliance with which she has little faith. Austria-Hungary, Italy's natural rival, is now a friend in the world of treaties, but still arrive in practical terms. After all, Italian irredentism, I didn't look up that word, still decrees the Austrian-held Dalmatian coast for Italy. That's on the eastern coast of the Adriatic Sea. For now, however, there are more pressing matters. War plans with the Ottoman Turks already being drawn up, and the government predicts a short, decisive war. Italy shall prove her power. In this situation, you're looking at the Libyan claims. That will get you the war with the Ottoman Empire. You can grab Libya. That could be decisive. The Ottomans are pretty weak, and the Italians could make a play for other parts of the empire in the Balkans, and possibly even go after Anatolia and Istanbul itself. I haven't seen it play out completely, but playing as the Germans, I think I'm on 1911 or something. I've seen the Italians beginning to move against them, and also the Italians start as democracy, so it's very difficult to sort of bring them into this authoritarian sphere of influence with the or authoritarian axis, maybe. Tripartite treaty, however you want to say it, with the Germans and the Austrians. So I'm kind of nervous about them. They're probably going to side with the Entente, I would assume, as history goes. But there are a few things you can do to try to lean them in your direction. There's a few national focuses that could sort of help. Secret deal with France, that's the one you really don't. You want to try to prevent that. As far as Austria-Hungary is concerned, we have House of Habsburg, which gives political power gain. That's a nice little addition to the Austro-Hungarian portfolio there. Multinational state, however, does create some instability in the region, and that's pretty much accurate as far as history goes, because this is not really a nation state, it's a multinational state. A lot of different ethnicities in there, and that's really where the whole problem starts with the Serbians. Securing Italian loyalty could be a good way to go. trying to make sure they stay in the Triple Alliance. Military extra speeds with Germany is definitely going to be helpful, and this looks like an air power move, and I'm not sure how influential air power is in this mod just yet. The last century was a curse on the Austrian throne. Humiliation after humiliation was thrust upon her from the rampage of Napoleon and the unification of Germany by the Prussians. Venerable old Kaiser Franz Josef now stands as the weakest member of the Triple Alliance, with two of her old enemies. But surprisingly, this has gone well for Austria so far. The Habsburgs, get out of here. The Habsburgs have inherited Bosnia, and the people of Hungary finally seem placated. Perhaps more good shall come. They definitely had a lot of problems maintaining unity in their time period. I saw a recent YouTube video on the Austro-Hungarian Navy and how you have a very complicated situation. You have like so many different languages being spoke on the same ship, and it's very difficult to maintain unity and orders and everything. But the Germans had a much easier time uniting. I guess they had more of a common language than the Austrians, but really the unification of Germany in the 1870s is really what disrupts the whole balance of power in Europe. And the peace is maintained by Otto von Bismarck, who I may be highlighting in one of my series coming soon. I have sort of an idea to play with him, thematically. But yeah, the unification of Germany and the disruption of the balance of power of Europe really kind of seems to be one of the long-term causes of World War One. But we'll explore that later in other videos. This is Nicholas or Nicole II, another authoritarian regime. However, they are allied with the French, and they begin in the Triple Entente. Recent years have not been kind to the Russian Empire, with a major military defeat at the hands of Japan, the Russo-Japanese War, followed by a revolution that forced the once invincible Tsar to a constitution limiting their government. Do they have elections? Yeah, they do have elections. August 1917. Interesting. When the revolution was. The Russian government must get back on its feet and prove its strength again, or risk revolution. Luckily, the Balkans are turbulent again. That's what they like. The crumbling Ottoman Empire is Russia's opportunity to expand and create new puppet states, or more importantly, prove that it's still a world power. Let's see here. Eastern Orthodox Church gives some stability and reduces consumer goods for factories. Very nice. Toshima humiliation. This is not good. This is based on the Battle of Toshima. It was a humiliating defeat for the Russians, which lost all its battleships, most of its cruisers and destroyers. Battle effectively ended the Russo-Japanese War in favor of Japan. Russia could not get their navy into the Pacific, just too far away. Yeah, this looks horrible. I wonder if you can get rid of this thing. I didn't look at the Russian national focus tree as much. Division organization, division recovery rate. This just really impedes Russia's power, especially naval power. I guess you don't really want to worry too much about a Russian navy. Your focus probably should be more on building up their land or their army. And then you also have infrastructure problems. Ugh, God. Limited railway infrastructure, reducing production efficiency, and division attrition. That just looks horrible. Celebrate Russo-French alliance. That's probably critical for the Russian security. That will ensure a two-front war against Germany. Deal with Wilhelm II. That's interesting. I don't know what that is. Reinforce Imperial Navy. Maybe that'll get rid of one of these. I didn't look at these national focuses. Like I said, I was really just focusing on Germany when I played. Let's move over to another member of the Triple Entente. Or let's start from the end here. We'll do the closest member. This is a democratic ideology, democratic regime, revanchism, I think is how you pronounce it. In the aftermath of the Franco-Prussian War of 1870, a lot of nationalists wanted to avenge the French defeat and reclaim lost areas of Alsace-Lorraine. That's the big focus of the French going into World War I. They want redemption from that Franco-Prussian War, which was utter humiliation. They were completely wiped out within months, I think. German technology was far more advanced, rifling technology, the needle gun, I think is what you called it. Disjointed government. State of French politics is Far from stable, while reforms are needed and welcome, the nation is divided, and getting drawn into a conflict would put him at greater risk. So, not very good stability and losing political power. Ouch, that kind of hurts. Scramble for Africa is another. This is just like the Germans. Same point, same factors added in there. Consolidating the Entente, probably a good idea early on. The Agdiar crisis, I think is how you pronounce it, deals with the rebels in Morocco. Rebels are beginning to organize against our puppet, the Sultan of Morocco. While we could intervene immediately, letting him feel the heat for a bit would not only be perfect pretext for annexation, but would also be a good way to ensure local governments comply. And I think this really kind of ensures that you annex Morocco. The Germans may try to stick their nose in our affairs. I got the option for this, and playing as the Germans, I chose to make a deal with the French, and I got a few concessions in like Cameroon down in Africa, which really wasn't worth that much. But it avoided war with the French, which was my big thing because I was just trying to play through and see what the events were. Prepare for war. There are a lot of these prepare for war national focuses, which typically increase manpower for a lot of these nations here. So, I've seen a lot of them. Mehmed V, the Ottoman Empire, the old man, the sick man of Europe. Faith in Allah will give unit organization and a decrease daily communist support. Good. Stop those communists. Balkan League menace. That's interesting. I don't know. Do we have Bulgaria here? I did see a Balkan League faction form while I was playing. That was between Serbia, Greece, Montenegro, which broke away from the Ottoman Empire at one point. So there's ability to do that. And Bulgaria, Serbia, Montenegro, and Greece. That was the Balkan League faction that was actually formed, which looks kind of weak. I don't know. I feel like I can crush that faction. I don't know if they have an alliance with Russia, or not. That's the crux of the Balkans, and that's what Bismarck said. The next war will be started by some damn fool thing in the Balkans. Crush Arab revolts. No description here. Some of these national focuses do not have complete descriptions. But I think it does tell you the effects. Support revolt in Libya. Okay, interesting. Storm clouds are gathering over Constantinian. I think that's supposed to be Constantinople. I don't know what that is. Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria have been scheming together. Again, likely a war to try and claim the territory they unrightfully claim as theirs. The Albanians are close to revolt. Italian government is also very publicly contemplating conquest of Tripoli. Loss of territory is nearly inevitable. Ottoman diplomacy, therefore, should center around ensuring we can keep the capital, if nothing else. So this is really probably one of the more difficult plays. Did I do France's description? No, I didn't read France's description. No, yeah, I did it right. So yeah, they're probably in the worst situation, losing in the Balkans constantly since the beginning of the 1800s, Greek revolt, and now the Italians are looking to expand their territory and their sphere of influence. And Ottomans, you're just probably looking for any friends you can get. The Russians will probably look to expand too. Maybe move into the Middle East. I think there's some territories in the Arabian Peninsula that you could consolidate. But this is definitely going to be one of the toughest of the major powers to play, probably. And last of the major powers here, we have England, Edward VII, democratic regime, conservative party ruling. British Stoicism. We have an ideological drift defense, which is very good. That allows you to create factions, but I think you already start with a faction. You also have the Scramble for Africa, just like France and Germany. Other national focuses, Flying Corps, protecting the Suez, probably critical, again, for trade. It's always critical for British. And it looks like a big air focus here. We have a blimp focus, so maybe the leaders in aviation technology here in England. I didn't really look at their national focus either, so... the British Empire is still in its zenith, controlling the massive amount of territory in Africa, Asia, and the Americas through direct rule and dominions. The United Kingdom still has one continent yet to master Europe. The United Kingdom has few allies on the mainland, but none they are particularly fond of. Of course, good old King Edward is surely not long for this world, so I guess he's old. The Crown Prince George has time to shake things up. What will the next king of Britannia what will the next king do for Britannia's place in Europe? They start with a guarantee of Belgium independence, and of course, that is what eventually brings them on the side of the French and the Russians in World War One when Germany decides to go through with the Schlieffen Plan, which is also a focus there, which raises tensions to 15%, just enough to send those um, volunteers. So it doesn't mean you have to go through with the plan, but the focus does raise you to 15%. Again, that is the idea, to invade France by going through Belgium first, and with Britain securing or guaranteeing Belgium independence, that brought Britain on the side of the Triple Entente for sure. But before we go over Belgium, let's look at the United States. We got William Howard Taft here, and Mexican Revolution reaction. No description there. That's another big event in the world. There was a Mexican Revolution going on in early parts of the decade. I think it starts around 1911 or something like that. I don't know exactly the dates there, but that's Pancho Villa, and America does intervene in this revolution in history. That's where you see sort of General Patton seeing some of his first combat experience. I think Eisenhower and MacArthur were also involved in that war. Somewhat, but it was General Blackjack Pershing who was in command of that force, who will eventually lead the American Expeditionary Force to Europe in 1917. Brief history. While Europe trudges closer and closer to war, misery, peace, and prosperity. War and misery. Peace and prosperity is the way in the United States in 1910. Probably an easier one to go about. The success of dollar diplomacy and the Roosevelt corollary finally secured Latin America from European powers once and for all. Philippines have been pacified for good. There you go. It'd be foolish to be blind to Europe, but for now, America is safe to build up. So I guess this is probably a nice one if you just want to practice getting through the functions and everything. But I think probably most people know the functions of running a nation. Well, you can experiment with different technology. There are some elaborate technology trees in this mod, which is another accolade of the mod there. It's got good technology, and I guess the units start off very similar. We'll take a look at that in other videos. Let's finish this up here with the minor power of Serbia. Peter II, you have liberate the Balkans to do. Okay, that's all it says there. Serbia is seen by outside invaders as a backwater, a minor nation, nothing more than a pawn in the great game that the world empires are playing each other. Against each other. Of course, the empires of the world may learn sooner than they think that the Serbs are destined for greater things. Currently, most Serbs live outside our borders in Turkish and Austrian territory. If we are to make a deal with the devil, the Bulgarians, the Serbs may begin their road for glory by way of full Serbian unification. That might be easier than you think if you can secure some good allies. Serbia might be able to survive and maybe even expand there. Bulgaria traditionally joins the Central Powers, but like I said, I saw them join an alliance with Serbia in the game that I was playing through creating a Balkan League. They are an authoritarian regime. What was Serbia? Serbia was democratic. That's interesting. Okay. Bulgarians are authoritarian, so and I think there is a national focus to try to ally with Bulgaria. Bulgaria has already made a name for itself through successful conflicts against the Serbs and outmaneuvering Ottoman Empire to unify Eastern Rumelia. Now the state stands at a more uncomfortable position. The Turks seem unwilling to put up any more Bulgarian territory for grabs, and the Russians are slowly withdrawing their support. So that's this is a question with Bulgaria. Which side do you want to go with? There seems to be multiple options. I guess you could join with the Central Powers. You could go with the Serbs and form the Serbian League, or it might be more difficult to get into the Triple Alliance or the Triple Entente with the Western Allies. Perhaps it's too late to mend fences with Serbia. Not as far as I've seen. After all, Bulgaria, with strong friends, could be a surprising menace. Belgium, this is a big one. Albert I, democratic regime, protected by Britain, seen by the Germans as a backdoor leading to Paris, avoiding the fortified French military concentrations along the Franco-German border. The Kingdom of Bulgaria is in a tricky situation. King Albert I will have a difficult choice to make. Either stand against the Kaisers, the Kaiser Wilhelm II, and stood side by side with the Entente, or to let the German troops walk in its territories and take a different course of action. That would be interesting to see what would happen if you let the Germans go through and maybe side with Germany. Maybe England would stay out of it, and it would just be Germany and France. I don't know what you could do after that. You'd kind of be surrounded by Germany and almost in position to be a German puppet. I think it would, significantly weaken your position. Although you could move on consolidating the lowlands and taking the Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies, maybe. You build up a navy, and I think you do have the Belgium Congo too at this point. So, Belgium, it's a new country, and it's a tricky situation, as well said there in the description. 3 more to go here. Empire of Japan, Emperor Meiji Restoration. You have state Shintoism, factory bomb vulnerability, minus 10%. I don't think you're going to be dealing too much with that in this one. Unless, of course, you go into World War II, and then you might have to deal with the Americans. Division recovery rate, 10%. This is an interesting one. You could really take this in a different path here. Japan, this is still early in Japanese history. Historically, they side with the British. They gain territory from the German Empire. There's a lot going on in China early on. I think you have the ability to annex Korea, which is obviously a good move. Increasing your manpower and such, and industry and resources. In just under 50 years, Japan has turned from a backwaters despot ruled by a shogun to a proper modern empire, just as powerful as any country in Europe has to offer. Emperor Meiji is the thanks for it. He's about to go, though. But sadly, he is both old and diseased and can't possibly live much longer. Before Crown Prince Yoshihito takes the crown, there are a few more matters to settle. The elderly emperor must decide where Japan stands with Russia and what to do with the Korean vassal. Annexation, I'd say, probably. Porfirio Diaz. Here we go. Mexico. This is a unique situation. They have their own scenario going on here. Mexico of 1910 is a strange case indeed. The Porfirio, I didn't look at that word, has been a great boon to Mexico since 1876. But now that the heat has been turned up, it seems, the President Diaz's time may be limited. Of course, the government sees this as biting the hand. Francisco Maduro is actively and obviously plotting against Diaz's government. He finds himself ambitious. If he finds himself ambitious enough, he may see Mexico in his own back pocket yet. All right, so Mexico, what do we have here? Authoritarian state. You have to wait till world tensions grow a little bit. I didn't look at their focus tree, but obviously the Zimmerman telegram is the big event here where they offer southwestern United States to Mexico. The Germans offer it. So accepting that could be interesting. You can send volunteers here. Okay. But accepting that Zimmerman telegram could be something interesting. Maybe making a move against the United States. Probably very challenging, I'm sure. But taking back California and that southwestern United States could be an interesting campaign. The last of the minor powers, Wilhelmina, the Netherlands, and the democratic regime here. Since the Second Hague Conference in 1907, the Netherlands do everything to avoid political alliance with any other European power. They're neutral to start. As the drums of war resound and the gates of Amsterdam resounds at the gates of Amsterdam, and despite their strong policy of neutrality, the peaceful mill country could soon find itself back to the wall. Having to make a choice that could forever change the future of the Dutch Empire. No one knows how fiercely patriotic the Queen is. They do have the Dutch East Indies at this time, and they are, like it says, fiercely neutral. I guess anything could happen there democratically, maybe side with the Allies. Of course, that'll put you on the front line with the Germans. I don't know if this is as interesting as a country to play. But, let me know if you guys like the way this mod sounds. I'm thinking of definitely doing some series, maybe a couple series. I've been focusing a lot more on World War I on my channel recently with Making Great History. That one has had some problems with some copyrights, so I haven't been publishing as much with that. I'm trying to resolve those issues. I have license from the company to play the music that they bought, but somehow there's a copyright issue with that, so we'll see what happens with that. But moving into the Great War, mod and Hearts of Iron could be a really good addition to this channel. I play Hearts of Iron a lot. I always wanted to get involved, but there's so many Hearts of Iron series out there. Focusing on a mod could be an interesting approach for my channel. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like the video if you did. And any suggestions for a scenario would be welcome. I'm thinking Germany, though, to start. And following this, I will do a description of the 1914 version, but my voice is about to go, so I'm just going to end this video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the